What's going on, everyone? So, I just got back from my first actual local tournament, and I went undefeated. So, I'm pretty happy about that. We did get these awesome deck boxes. I'm sure you've seen them around. Um, they were announced a while back that they were going to be given out as prizes, but kind of cool just to have. I mean, I'm probably just going to stick some extra commons in there. But then, because I got first, I also got the foil version of Halcyon. So that is pretty awesome, definitely going into my promo collection. But yeah, so I'm sure all of you are wondering what deck did I run and how did I do. Well, I guess you know how I did, but how the matchups went. We did only have 4 people playing, but because of us actively participating, um, were able to draw in a few other people, so they were getting trial decks and we were helping them build decks. And yeah, so hopefully next week it'll be a little bit bigger. We'll probably have like 6 to 8 people playing next week, so that'll be really awesome. And then hopefully our decks will be a little bit better too by then, because we were also trying to collect the cards that we needed. And that being said, this deck does definitely need tweaking. It is only built using cards that I had pulled from the 2-box openings, and fortunately I did get enough to build a decent deck. However, there were a few ratios that were looking kind of weird in deck building, but it still worked. So, I guess we can just start into the profile, and I can talk about the cards as we go through them and see how each one did. So, the colors that I ran were green, red, and black. I felt like green was important for the mana ramping, red was my main focus, and then black seemed to have a lot of synergy with red, which is why it got thrown in there. And I did get the stuff necessary to be able to play these colors, while I was lacking in some of the other colors. So kicking things off with red, since that is the primary focus. Also, just another real quick plug. I mean, I'm not associated with Ultra Pro in any way, but I did use their Eclipse sleeves. This is my first time using the sleeves, and they were amazing. I would really recommend picking them up. I know they're like $8, so it's kind of steep for card sleeves, and I found these at Walmart, but yeah, they are really nice. So going into this, first up we had 4 Goblin Madcap. This is an amazing card, easy turn 1 drop. The one thing that I wish is that I could have cut out one of the other colors, either green or black, not sure which yet, and stuck in another red banner, because I was having a problem getting locked out of playing red. It wasn't so bad some games. Some games I was getting enough red resource, and other games I was getting all, or anything but red, to say. But yeah, he was pretty awesome and combos well with one of the other cards in here. Then we got 2 Goblin Toe Stabber. This card is actually really good. I mean, being able to just deal damage to a Drago Shield that put in a lot of work. Definitely a great card, but I'm not sure if I would run more unless I was running something like mono red, but it still did the job that it needed to. But then we got 1 Sarg. Would have ran more. I did pull the foil one, but I was trying to trade that off. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but I think I actually have a playset now if I include the foil one. So yeah, that'll probably be bumped up in future builds. Then we got 4 Harpy Huntress. This card was amazing. Part of the reason why I wanted to throw in another red banner was so that I could play her and Goblin on turn 1. But yeah, it was still pretty good to see her. And then along with her as another 2-drop is Carefree Orc. So there were a lot of 1s and 2-drops in here. It was a pretty aggressive deck, but it could also function defensively. I did kind of have to do that against a black, red, yellow matchup that I had, which is pretty much just cards from the trial deck because they had forgotten the deck that they had made. But they were really good at piloting that, and yeah, that game I was not flipping any red resources, so I was getting really worried, but I did end up winning. Oh, also, side note, we were doing best of 1. As we get more people into this, we'll probably switch over to a best of 3, but for now, that's where we're sticking. Then I got 2 Harpy Ember Mage. This card was amazing against that black, yellow, red matchup because he did not want to touch the fort that she was at simply because she dealt 1 damage to them, which would have killed any of those smaller creatures. So she was definitely put in a lot of work. And I did see her turn 1, which really impacted it as well. Then I've also got 2 Ravian. Still not a big fan of her, and I didn't see her too much, but I do think she is necessary for the deck. But yeah, aside from that, she didn't really offer much. There's always other stuff that I would have rather played. And then we got 2 Lost Will of Steel. Definitely need to bump that card up higher. She is amazing. I did get to summon her off of Leilania's Call, which you'll see later, and then I got to deal 2 damage to one of their opposing creatures, which destroyed them since it was in the black, yellow, red matchup. And yeah, she did a lot of work. Then we got 1 Doomfire Avatar. Would have ran 2 if I had it, but I actually never saw this card. Or if I did, there was always something better I could have played. So unfortunately, didn't get to use him too much, but I still think he's a great card in the deck. And then to wrap it off, we got 2 Fafnir, and he put in so much work. Tore down a Keeper, tore down Wandering Orc, the vanilla, and then being able to break those Drago shields was huge. And by turn 6, I was usually dropping him and winning games. So I did really like how this deck functioned, and definitely got to tweak it to make it a little bit better. And I don't think there were any red fort bursts in here, because I don't run many fort bursts. Alright, but moving on to the next color. We got green. This was the second most in quantity of color, with black being the least. And I believe green and black totaled together to like 26. I think I had 24 red cards. I think 12 black, 14 green, and then the rest red. Yeah, I had to make sure those numbers added up. But I believe that's what it was. But anyways, I had 1 Falthalas. Would definitely do 2 of him, simply because he allows you to invade red. And really the only time he was useful was in the match against my girlfriend, because he would invade the red fort. She would typically let the first attack go through just to try and trigger a fort burst, and then I would swing in with Falthalas to pop the last one since it couldn't be blocked. And yeah, definitely made a huge impact on that game. Then we got 2 Leilania's Call. This card was extremely useful in the game where I was not flipping any red resources. I actually ended up, hit one as a fort burst and summoned Laos off of it. And then the following turn, I summoned a Carefree Orc and then played Leilania's Call to drop a Goblin Toe Stabber, because I had that few options. But that did end up winning me the game, so yeah, really glad that I ran this card. But I mean, if I was running double red, then wouldn't have had that issue. Next up, we got 4 Fleetwing Sprite, just to let you get to Fafnir faster. Definitely a great card, and was the reason that I was putting green in here. As well as for Mischievous Sprite. I actually never got to get her effect off. I always saw her after I'd already triggered the ambush, or too early in the game, and then they never placed an ambush. But definitely worth keeping at 2. Don't know if I go any higher, don't know if I take it out, but definitely a great card. Then we got 1 Red Fang. I only saw this card once, but did what it needed to, got me some resources, and it is a 4, so even after you do all your ramping, you're still able to use it to beat down your opponent. Then we got 2 Kingslayer B. I'm running green. I'm definitely going to be running Kingslayer B. It's my favorite card and the best green card, in my opinion. And just something extra, I was able to pick up a foil playset, so all of my Kingslayer Bs are foil. But yeah, never actually saw it in this deck, which was kind of disappointing. But then we also got the 2 Terrax, and this card was amazing. I played one game against a blue-green-yellow deck, and I was able to summon this, I believe, on my turn 2. I was going second, played Fleetwing Sprite my first turn. I was up to 5 resources, attacked in, wiped out one of their forts. They were forced to play a little bit more aggressively to try and keep me under control, and they took out one of my forts. My turn progressed, I flipped my resource, dropped Terrax, all of their creatures were in rest, and I just attacked into the fort, and yeah, he is an absolute beast, and I love this card. Definitely worth running in any green deck. So that wraps up the green. Now moving on to the black, definitely the least impressive of all of the colors. So really wishing I had a secret banner. I would prefer a red secret banner, but it is what it is. So kicking things off, we got 2 Wandering Apparition. Being that this is a more aggressive deck, I did want them in there. Probably could have bumped it up to 4, but didn't know what to take out. Probably, if I would take out green from this deck, she would definitely be going up to 4. But I think 2 was enough. I was able to see it fairly often, but yeah. And then next up we got 4 Crowd Surfer. So this card was pretty great. Saw it as a fort burst quite often. And even if I drew it, I wasn't too upset because it was a 2-drop black card. And my hand was often full of red creatures, so I was usually happy to see this card. And then we got 2 Death Trap. Just too good not to run. I don't care for Pyroblast if I'm not running at least 2 red banners, so that's the reason I have Death Trap in here instead of Pyroblast, and I didn't want to run both of them. But then to wrap things up, we have 4 Grave Champion, and this card put in a lot of work. Really forced my opponent to have to think about what they were going to destroy, because I was usually destroying Madcap or Sarg, if I was fortunate enough to have Sarg on the field. But yeah, this card really did a lot. Not really much else to say about that. I mean, he's a 4/4, which is really nice. He was coming out in the transition into mid-game, and really just kind of set my opponent back and was able to let me push into win. So yeah, I'm really glad that we finally got tournaments going. I'll be able to bring you more deck profiles. I am currently looking at building yellow-black. Don't know if I will follow through with that, but I'll probably be doing that, or mono-red. Not quite sure yet, and I'm also looking at doing a blue-green variant control deck somehow. Not quite sure what the third color is going to be, but yeah, it was definitely a great time, and glad that this community is still growing. So be sure to check out Dragoracle and the Facebook page if you want to join our communities, as well as follow me on Twitter, where I'd be happy to talk about Dragoborne anytime. So as always, thanks for watching.